Good morning, dear students. I am Riaz Ahmed Khan. Will be taking your economics lecture today. We have already started with one chapter, which has been called as a poverty. Which has been called as a poverty. We have already started with this chapter, poverty. So, students, under this chapter, I would like you all to contribute what we all have studied. Students, what do you mean by the term poverty? Students, what,
So poverty
Poor.
means situation.
one person at a time, beta. What is poverty?
Power,
Situation. Poverty is a situation.
I didn't get you, Kavita. Can you repeat your answer, beta?
Poverty is a situation.
Poverty is a situation. Okay. Nazia, what do you understand by the term poverty? Nazia, and who's been called as a poor people? Who's been called as a poor people, students? हाँ, Nazia, please answer, beta. Nazia,
who
please
can't
answer.
who can't get their basic needs also they are called as a poor people.
Okay, okay. Then we have learned two concepts about poverty. First was absolute poor. Students, what do you mean by absolute poor? Any one of you? Students, who are being termed as an absolute poor person?
Person which is extremely poor.
No, no, beta. Who's being termed as an absolute poor? Any one of you? Any one of you who's been termed as an absolute poor?
The absolute poverty is measured in terms of minimum calorie intake.
Okay, you're near to the answer, but not exact answer. I told you about some needs. Do you remember? Needs, absolute poverty must have a needs. Which needs they must, if they cannot
Water.
fulfill? No. A person who cannot fulfill their basic needs. A person who cannot fulfill their basic needs will be called as a absolute poor, or the situation will be called as absolute poverty. So can anybody tell me what is the basic needs? How many basic needs do we have?
5.
Five. Very good. Which five?
Food, clothing,
Food, clothes,
shelter,
shelter,
environment.
environment, health.
Okay, two people must not answer, beta. You must follow the rules of the Google Meet classroom. If one person is asking, other person has to wait. No problem if you're giving same answer. Nazia said and Rukaya said five things: food, clothing, shelter, health, and environment. Sorry, education. So these are the five, what you can say, basic needs which every human being has to fulfill. And if you cannot fulfill those basic needs, means you are not a person who has a lot of money, then you will be termed as a poor person and they will be called as an absolute poor. Absolute poor means they are actually unable to fulfill their needs. So, absolute poor. Then we learn another term, that is relative poor. What do we mean by the term relative poor, students? Anybody? Yes, Nazia, please answer.
when, when you compare two person, the person which is more poor than the another person is called as relative poverty.
Okay, thank you, Nazia. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay. What Nazia mean to say that whenever we compare two people, two-person, so when you're comparing a two-person, out of that two-person, one person will be always having a less of wealth. One person will be always having a less of wealth. So which person have a less of wealth will be called as a relative poor. Example I used last time, that if I and Anil Ambani, I and Mukesh Ambani will be compared. So Mukesh Ambani will be always much, much richer, and I will be in front of him. With a less wealth, I will be termed as a relative poor. Is that okay, girls? Are you all recollecting?
Yes, sir.
So next is yours, poverty line. Students, what do we mean by the poverty line? Any idea? Any one of you? Any one of you? Any idea? We did poverty line.
Poverty line is an imaginary line that divides the poor and non-poor.
Very good, Nazia. Only Nazia is answering. Others, what you are doing? Poverty line is an imaginary line. Poverty line is an imaginary line which divides poor and non-poor. Which divides poor and non-poor. So this much we did in the last class. Now we begin with another topic called as. Now we begin with another topic which is called as causes of poverty. What are the causes of poverty in India? Okay, before that we did two more, rural poverty and urban poverty. Which is rural poverty, children? Anybody can answer me. What is rural poverty?
Rural poverty is not getting the basic needs among certain sections of the people.
So where do you find rural poverty? Anybody?
In village.
In village. Very good. The word rural stands for village. So rural poverty is always found in our villages. And where do you find urban poverty?
In city.
Town.
Town and cities.
Cities in town.
Very good, Fatima, Kavita, Rukaya, all of you. So urban poverty in cities and rural poverty is in villages. Then after we have okay. Now, students, I'm going to start with the causes of poverty. Causes of poverty. Now, what are the causes of poverty, students? Students, what are the causes of poverty? The first cause, if I take, is population. Students, anybody has an idea why the population is the biggest cause? Students, do you have any idea why the population is the biggest cause? Students, do you have any idea why the population is the biggest cause? Am I audible, students?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have any idea why the population is the biggest cause? Because population is the mother of all the problems which has been caused in the India. So population is more. If the population is more, jobs will be more or less?
Less.
Job will be less. क्यों बेटा जॉब विल बी लेस? क्योंकि पर्टिकुलर जॉब, एक पर्टिकुलर जॉब के लिए क्या हो जाएगा, देयर विल बी मेनी पीपल अप्रोचिंग, और जब मेनी पीपल अप्रोचिंग रहेंगे तो क्या होगा, जॉब किसी एक पर्सन को मिलेगी, जॉब विल बी गिवन टू वन पर्टिकुलर पर्सन, जिसकी वजह से what will happen, then people will not get a job and people will be deprived from the job. So job opportunities हमारे पास उतनी नहीं है जितने हमारे पास लोग हैं. जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज हमारे पास उतनी नहीं है जितने हमारे पास क्या है, लोग है, और लोग ज्यादा होने की वजह से लोगों को जॉब ज्यादा नहीं मिल रही है. So one thing is that population is a first cause. Then slow economic growth. Slow economic growth. Students, what is the economic growth? That is a growth in terms of real national income. Growth in terms of real national income, growth in terms of industrialization, growth in terms of in better trade, better foreign trade and all. In India, we do not have all this. Why we do not have all this? Because again, I will tell you, the population is the biggest cause. Because population ने हमारे देश के अंदर देश को आगे बढ़ने ही नहीं दिया है. पॉपुलेशन जो है उसने सबसे ज्यादा क्या किया है, प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट किया है ड्यूरिंग द इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट. सो दिस इज द रीजन वेयर द पीपल where the country is not getting developed and people do not have enough of job. लोगों के पास प्रॉपर काम नहीं है, लोगों के पास प्रॉपर जॉब्स नहीं है, सो दैट इज क्रिएटिंग प्रॉब्लम. देन under unemployment and underemployment, that is also a point of worry. Unemployment, if we pick up the data and we see within this last 2 years, so many people have lost their jobs because of the pandemic. जो पैंडेमिक चल रहा है, उस पैंडेमिक की वजह से, कोविड-19 की वजह से बहुत सारे लोगों ने जॉब छोड़ दिया है. छोड़ दिया नहीं, उनको जॉब से निकाल दिया गया, एंड दे आर फेसिंग unemployment. Unemployment, anybody can tell me what is an unemployment? Any one of you, can you tell me what is the unemployment? Any one of you, can you tell me what is an unemployment? Unemployment is say beta, say.
Not have any job.
No, not having any job. You are willing to work, you want to go to work, but you are not getting any job. That will be termed as an unemployment. And underemployment, students, underemployment वो situation है where you are taking up the job below your capacity. Like from example, one postgraduate child who is not getting a job, he is opening a vada pav center where he is able to work in a corporates, but he is not getting a proper job, so he is selling a vada pav. So that will be called as an underemployment. जब आप अपने capacity से कम की जॉब ले लेते हो, that is known as underemployment. और ये क्यों होता है? लोग गरीबी से तंग आकर गरीब रहते हैं, and like they cannot face the situations and challenges. Either they remain unemployed or they become a underemployed person. Students, are you all understanding what I am teaching? Girls?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, beta. Next है your economic inequality. Economic inequality. India, you can see there are two people who are having a highest of wealth. Can you name two people of India who is having a highest of wealth? जिनके पास सबसे ज्यादा दौलत है इंडिया के अंदर. Sorry, can you tell me who is the richest man of India?
Mukesh Ambani.
Very good. And another richest man of India, जिनका नाम अभी थोड़े दिन पहले ही पेपर में आया था. Do you all remember? Gautam Adani. So these are the two peoples who are having a almost wealth of the nation, and there are people who are struggling and starving for one time food. We have seen in pandemic how people struggle for one time of food. People used to go on road and they used to take food from the roadside, those who were distributing. So all that is very painful, students. But what happens that people incomes are like those who are poor, they are poor and poorest, and those who are rich, they are rich and richest. So this is creating a drift in society. तो जो पुअर रहता है फिर वो पुअर ही रह जाता है बच्चों, वो आगे नहीं बढ़ पाता है. और जो रिच रहता है वो क्या हो जाता है? दे बिकम अ रिच. सो causes of poverty में economic inequalities also plays an important role, because the poor section of the society, they do not have enough of food, then forget about the enough of education. And when they do not have enough of education, so to rise up in their life is very difficult. So that is also a case where those who are rich, जिनके पास ज्यादा जमीनें हैं, ज्यादा जायदाद है, ज्यादा घर है, they are living a better life. But those who are struggling, those who are staying in you can say slum areas, those who are staying in a small chawls, for them to struggle up and come is very difficult. Next है आपका inflation. Inflation, anybody have idea about inflation? Students, any one of you have an idea about inflation? What is inflation? Only meaning I want, nothing I want. What is an inflation?
General progressive increase in price of goods and service.
Very good. That is a rising prices. महंगाई, जो प्राइसेस बढ़ते जा रही है, जो प्राइसेस आगे जाते जा रही है, जो प्राइसेस बहुत हाई होते जा रही है, that is called as an inflation. So inflation is very danger problem in country like India. Like for example, when you think about your childhood, remember those 5 rupees Cadbury, and I hope you have seen now today's 5 rupees Cadbury. When you used to go to school, the vada pav used to cost you 5 rupees or 7 rupees. Now that vada pav is costing you 14 rupees. So general price level is rising. When you will be in school, 4th standard, 3rd standard, the rickshaw prices were rupees 16 or 15. Now the rickshaw prices is gone so much high till 21. So the prices are rising. People's income is not rising. From past 2 years, the job has not given increment to the people. The salary has not risen, but the prices of the product are rising. Few days before, the onion was costing 50 rupees. Today, when you go to vegetable market, all the vegetables are almost 80 rupees kgs, 120 rupees kgs. So, except the one seasonal peas, rest everything is very expensive. It has become. Why it has become very expensive? Because we have a highest population. Demand for the product never goes down, but the production is not there and the supply is less. That's why prices are rising and inflation is the biggest cause. So जो लोग limited income के साथ हैं, जिनके पास बहुत limited income है, what they will do, how they will survive, for them it will be very difficult. So inflation is again a biggest cause for the causes of poverty. Then next you have regional imbalances. Regional imbalances. What do you mean by the regional imbalances? Why the country like India is called as a poor country? Because there is a regional imbalances. What do we mean by the regional imbalances? Regional imbalances का मतलब होता है बच्चों कि देश के अंदर कुछ हिस्से बहुत डेवलप और कुछ हिस्से नहीं डेवलप. जैसे हमारा साउथ जो आप देखोगे वो बहुत डेवलप्ड है. आप हमारा महाराष्ट्र जो देखोगे वो बहुत डेवलप्ड है. बट व्हेन यू गो टू सी उत्तर प्रदेश, व्हेन यू गो टू सी बिहार, व्हेन यू गो टू सी मध्य प्रदेश, व्हेन यू गो टू सी उड़ीसा, दे आर नॉट एट ऑल डेवलप्ड. वो लोग वो एरियाज आपके बिल्कुल भी डेवलप नहीं है. वहां पे पॉवर्टी का जो रेशियो है वो आज भी क्या है, बहुत ज्यादा है. पॉवर्टी का जो रेशियो है वो आज भी क्या है, बहुत ज्यादा है. तो ये जो चीजें हैं वो रीजनल इम्बैलेंसेस जो है वो क्या करता है, आपके कंट्री को डेवलप नहीं होने देता है. क्योंकि डेवलपमेंट के लिए इट इज नेसेसरी that your entire nation has to get developed. आपका एक स्टेट, 2 स्टेट डेवलप होगा तो नहीं चलेगा. डेवलप होने के लिए आपका पूरा नेशन क्या होना चाहिए, डेवलप होना चाहिए. So that is we have studied causes of poverty. Students, we will take one more last point, that is a circle. I'm going to take vicious circle of poverty. Students, I'm going to take vicious circle of poverty. So vicious circle, क्यों लोग हमेशा गरीब के गरीब रह जाते हैं? Vicious circle बहुत कम लोग क्या करते हैं, इस सर्कल को तोड़ पाते हैं और बाहर आ पाते हैं, अदरवाइज बहुत सारे लोग इसी के अंदर फंसे रह जाते हैं. You can see in your textbook, students, there is a diagram given, vicious circle of poverty का. We will refer a textbook, vicious circle of poverty. There is a low national income. There is a फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल हमारे कंट्री की नेशनल इनकम क्या है, कम है. हमारे कंट्री की नेशनल इनकम कम है, इसीलिए हम लोग क्या कहलाए जा रहे हैं, गरीब कहले जा रहे हैं. फिर देयर इज अ लो पर कैपिटा इनकम. जब नेशनल इनकम कम है तो लोगों की, इंडिविजुअल लोगों की इनकम भी क्या है, कम है. जब इंडिविजुअल लोगों की इनकम कम है तो वो अपनी सेविंग भी क्या रखते हैं, लेस रखते हैं. व्हेन लोगों की सेविंग कम है तो लोग इन्वेस्ट नहीं कर पाएंगे. इन्वेस्ट नहीं कर पाएंगे तो कैपिटल नहीं बन पाएगा देश के अंदर. जब लेस कैपिटल, लेस मशीन, लेस टेक्नोलॉजी, तो प्रोडक्शन और प्रोडक्टिविटी विल बी लेस. एंड व्हेन देयर इज अ लेस प्रोडक्टिविटी, there will be a less employment. When there will be less employment, there will be less income, and the circle continues. ये सर्कल क्या होते रहेगा, चलते रहेगा. तो देयर इज अ विशियस सर्कल ऑफ पॉवर्टी फाउंड इन द कंट्री, जिसको बहुत ही कम परसेंटेज क्या कर पाता है, तोड़ पाता है. अदरवाइज देयर इज rest all live with it. So here we will end with this topic, that is a vicious circle of poverty. Say we will end causes of poverty. Students, before we end this causes of poverty, I would like to revise what is population, what is reasons. Can you see first reason, population. Students, why the population is the reason for causes of poverty? Anybody? Any one of you? थोड़ा दिमाग चलाओ और आंसर दो. स्टूडेंट्स, why the population is a cause of poverty? Students, Nazia, Fatima, Kavita. Students, anyone? Population, why the population is the reason for poverty?
About
Students,
low income.
creating low income population. Anybody else? Okay, population, why? Because the more population is more and job opportunity is less. Economic growth is slow. Slow economic growth, so developments are not fast. And when the development is not fast, people will remain poor for the lifetime. Underemployment and unemployment. Because of poverty, people are taking up the wrong jobs, which is not suitable for their educational qualification. And also, the causes of poverty में underemployment, where people are not getting unemployment, people are not getting job. That is also the reason. Then inflation, soaring prices or rising prices, which is creating a problem. Regional imbalances, where the people, where the states are imbalancedly developed. Some states are highly developed and some states do not have a basic infrastructure facilities. And then economic inequalities, rich are getting richer and poorers are getting poorer. And final, vicious circle of poverty, which is continuing. So students, I would like to give you an homework. You have to maintain a record of India state according to the poverty ratio. Which state has the highest poverty, which state has the lowest poverty, where what. You will prepare a chart and you will send me a file. Okay, students? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, students.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Don't
Thank
leave
you.
don't leave the class. You have to mark your attendance, students. Don't leave the class. I'm switching on the attendance. Students, you all can write your attendance.